Do the trashy pulp novels of the world have anything to offer? Are bestsellers all they're cracked up to be? Here at Terrible Book Club, we explore whether you really can judge a book by its cover, or its ridiculous synopsis. You ever passed a book and thought, ugh, who's reading this? We probably are. Hello and welcome to episode 216 of the Terrible Book Club. I'm Chris, and this is Paris.
Hello.
This time, I read In the Ravenous Dark by A.M. Strickland, because P.M. Strickland was on vacation. This was requested by our patron Austin, noted pervert, who said, a book about a girl failure who ends up step-cousins to the royal family, all of which become inexplicably interested in either becoming her friend, fucking her, or both. Some highlights including a first chapter that involves fucking on top of a two-story gazebo, an island of vaguely Celtic wizards who all have anime hair and eyes, a love interest who does that scene with Joy and the prostitute in Blade Runner 2049, and distracting your ghost bodyguard by almost flashing your tits at him.
You know, I remember getting this submission and going, fuck, I think I'm going to have to read this one. But then it fell on Chris, and I was so glad to be free.
I'm sorry for throwing shade at you there, Austin, but you always seem to throw stuff at us that involves sex. At least it wasn't straight up hentai this time. So,
yeah, we appreciate that. I'm just going to say we appreciate that. Please keep those not coming our way.
I will say, Paris, that your point about me being foisted with this is interesting because, like, I just did Black Moon Rising, which is also sort of like a, romancy thing. After this, I have another thing that's pretty romancy too. So I'm in it here. That I'm steeped in the romance area here. Although this is a little bit more YA and romance. I don't know if I'd call it romantasy all the way, but it's pretty much there.
Sure. I mean, it's at least fuck fantasy. Is that fine?
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
Sure. If this is your first time listening to this show, what we do here at the Terrible Book Club is read books that we assume will be bad based on their cover, title, summary, or some combination of the three. Sometimes, like today, we read books that our patrons, listeners, or friends recommend. So we do the opposite of what most people do in a bookstore or while they're browsing the internet. Usually this experiment results in a disappointing read, but once in a while we end up liking the book. In addition to our usual barnyard language, today's episode includes discussion or mention of sex, blood, death, dying, and corpses. So, right. I mean, nothing that you wouldn't see in a PG-13 thing for the most part. There's one sex scene that doesn't get too in-depth, and I'm not going to read it. So, you'll just hear me say, and then they did it. And that's about as deep as we'll go here. But there's a lot of okay. blood and death and that kind of fun stuff.
I mean, we're in the Ravenous Dark, Chris. One would expect such thing.
Okay, so let me read the back of the book / Amazon summary, the thing that is there to pull you in to get you to purchase this and enjoy, maybe. In Thenopolis, those gifted with magic are assigned undead spirits to guard them and control them. Ever since Rovin's father died trying to keep her from his fate, she's hidden her magic, but when she accidentally reveals her powers, she's bound to a spirit and thrust into a world of palace intrigue and deception. Desperate to escape, Rovin finds herself falling for two people she can't fully trust. Lydia, a beguiling rebellious princess, and Ivralos, the handsome spirit with the ability to control Rovin, body and soul. Together, they uncover a secret that will destroy Thenopolis. To save them all, Rovin will have to start a rebellion in both the mortal world and the underworld, and find a way to trust the princess and spirit battling for her heart, if she doesn't betray them first. Okay, so I'm going to hit you with some characters and setting here, Paris. It's a little bit of an extensive list, so try to pay attention here.
Okay, I will. I got my little hat on. I've got my scholarly robes, pencil sharpened, quills inked.
You'll need them because we're in Thenopolis, ancient Greek-style city in a magic bubble that prevents the blight from getting in. So everything in this book is ancient Greece themed. It's definitely not ancient Greece. Of course, it's a fantasy place that is in a magical bubble. She came down in a bubble, dog, in their Greek clothing. It makes a lot of mention of like specific ancient Greek style clothing that I had to look up, like a peplos and a himation.
Oh, yeah, that's great. That's great.
And a pterygus and stuff like that. So I had to keep looking up what the hell those were. And they're generally all some sort of flowing garb that is tied in a different way or cinched or like folded in a different way.
That is how they did. That's how they did.
That's about as far as it goes, though. I mean, there's like mention of a lot of marble and columns, so it's not deep, you know? But it's nice that the author was trying to throw in a little bit of, it's like kind of Athens, but not.
Wait a minute. So this is ancient Greece?
Themed. It is nowhere near our world. It is a complete new fantasy world, but it is themed as if we are in ancient Greece.
Wait, who the fuck made that choice?
The author, I'm guessing?
Oh, sorry. I thought you were saying in the book it was. So, I don't know. I'm having a hard time with this. Wait, so this isn't Earth, but they know what ancient Greece is?
No. It's people, like, the set dressing is ancient Greece period piece, but it's not ancient Greece at all.
Okay.
It's the clothes, okay? It's just ancient Greek clothes for the most part.
So it's
the
not,
deal. That's it.
So it's not, okay, so you're saying it's just a fantastical version of ancient Greece that's not really ancient Greece, right?
Really only in clothing and architecture is really as far as it goes.
Okay. All right.
Just wanted to give you a little flavor of what to expect here. There's a lot of olive oil and shit, okay?
Delicious.
All right, now we're going to get into our characters here. Our protagonist is Rovin Balakra, an unregistered blood mage. Sylvain Balakra is her dad.
Oh, these fucking names.
She also has a mom who doesn't really get named, or is like, if she was named, it was said once, and every other time she was referred to as mother or Rovin's mother, so I forgot her name. It's not that important. Don't worry about it.
All right.
We have King Neleus, who is just here to die within the first few chapters. So he's just on his deathbed. We never see him talk or anything.
Thanks for taking one for the team, Nelson, or whatever.
Yeah. More important is his son, Tyros, who is the crown prince set to take over the throne once King Neleus dies in the first few chapters. Okay.
Got it.
Then we have Lydia, daughter of Tyros. Cineas, son of Tyros, who is a fraternal twin of Lydia. Delphia, another daughter of Tyros, who is younger. We have Penelope, another daughter of Neleus, so Tyros' sister. There was also Maya, who was another sister who died before the book took
Chris,
place.
I was already getting Maridonia vibes, and now you just said Maya, and I'm just like, oh man, it's
really fucking funny that you should mention that, because it's really fucking funny that you should mention that. We'll just file that away for later.
All these names just make me feel like Maridonia.
File that away for later. We have Tumark, who is a general who like married into the royal family.
All right.
We have Jaffa, Tumark's adult child, neither son nor daughter. This is a non-binary they-them type of person.
Fine.
We have Chryseia, Penelope, and Tumark's daughter. We have Bethea, Rovin's fuck buddy. We have Ivralos, guardian of Sylvain, and then Rovin. He's a ghost. We heard before about how there's guardians that are attached to these blood mages. Ivralos is one of them. He's attached to Sylvain.
I'm going to say
Rovin.
it's probably Ivrilos, but this isn't really Greece.
No.
So let's not worry about it.
They use a cutesy nickname Ivril for him later. So unless you can cutesy nickname the way you said it, then
Ivril?
I think it's Ivrilos.
Ivril.
Sure, but I'm going to say Ivrilos the whole time, so you better deal with it.
Ivrilos. Greek listeners, write in.
Yeah.
Yell at us.
We have Athanatos, ancient first king of Thanopolis.
So he's not death. He's king, not death.
Yes. A bunch of other guardians that don't matter because they're there for like 4 pages. Maybe they get named once or twice, but they're like the other guardians really don't matter. And then we have Cratius, who is Ivrilos' half-brother.
Credeus. Sorry.
Okay. You're gonna deal with my pronunciations today, Paris.
Chris,
I'm in the driver's seat.
I'm just obligated, having spent 6 years of my life studying classics. Even though I didn't study Greek, I am obligated contractually to step in and say,
you know what?
I think that's wrong.
I'm happy to have you correct me on that, but I will not change how I pronounce things because that's how I was pronouncing them in my head the whole time, and I can't undo it right now.
I'm just going to wait until past guest Dr. Jeremy Swist hits us up and is like, you guys totally fucked up all those names. You were both wrong.
That's fine. You know what? I'm not trying to go for a classics degree, so please correct me as much as you want. Dr. Swist.
Oh, yeah.
Pause for cutting in Dr. Swist to correct me.
Since we know that will happen.
We did indeed ask Dr. Swist to comment on how to pronounce these names. So for your listening pleasure, here is Dr. Jeremy Swist, known as Metal Classicist on Blue Sky, reading out a list of people and place names from a YA fantasy novel for us.
Ivrilos,
Athanatos, Thanopolis, Tyros, Jaffa, Maya, Neleus, Cratius, Cineas, Delphia, Penelope.
For the record, Dr. Swist did inform me that a lot of these names are indeed made up, especially Ivrilos. Thanks, Dr. Swist.
All right, great. We can't pronounce Greek names. Give me the summary now.
Okay, so now I will give you my summary of In the Ravenous Dark by A.M. Strickland. In Paris, you can just interject as you please. If you have any problems or comments or concerns, I may periodically ask you how you feel about something or some sort of question.
Is there any trivia today?
Not really trivia. My style of question is just like free form, like how would you react to this?
Okay, all right. But there's still something for me to do.
Yeah.
That's good.
But otherwise, you can kind of chill. All right. In the ancient Greek-themed YA city in a bubble, Thanopolis, Rovan Balakra just woke up hungover as fuck on top of a 2-story gazebo with her sex friend Bethea. As you can tell, Rovan's a bit of a wild child. She's had a bit of a rough life. Many years ago, a bunch of royal blood mages showed up and killed her father, Sylvain, because he was A, an unregistered blood mage, and B, from Skylia, a foreign city-state full of people with blue hair, so he's probably a spy. He hid his blue hair with some of the blood magic that he had. Blood magic is a hereditary power that uses sigils inscribed in the air with your fingers to create magical effects like telekinesis, fire conjuration, shields, control of blood itself, spells, that kind of thing. Its power can be enhanced by bloodlines, which are essentially tattoos of the sigils on your body, in lines that can be passed down from parent to child with a ritual that kills the parent. The more times this happens, the more sigils inscribed on your body and the more powerful the bloodline is.
Hang on a second. I've already got 2 questions. Question 1, why would they not just try to register Sylvain instead of killing him?
Oh, because he fought back.
Oh, okay. 2, the whole, we can only transfer these tattoos by killing your parent seems weird. Can't you just put them on your body through normal tattooing?
No, it's like a magical tattoo that is full of magical power, and only that specific thing on that body can be transferred through a ritual. So it's like if you peeled off someone's skin and pasted it on your body.
So the word tattoo is incorrect here, right? Is that what I'm to?
Sure, but if
in
the description it's supposed to be cool ass tattoos is what everyone's supposed to.
I get it. I was just like, why are we killing parents if these are tattoo? Why could you just not get the tattoo?
Yeah,
okay,
no.
Thank you for explaining that.
Okay. Thanopolis is hell of into blood magic, and since blood magic is so powerful, every blood mage must be registered and made to serve the city, also known as the polis. They are called wards, these registered blood mages, and are given a guardian, which is the ghost of a former living individual bound to them magically in order to both strengthen the wards and keep them under a watchful eye, since the guardians serve the royal family. These ghosts only appear to the ward they are bound to, but to everyone else manifest as a vague shadow over there.
Dude, I already am like, what the fuck? How did they get these dead? So do you have to sign up before you die to become a guardian, or is this something your dead self gets to be like, I want to be a guardian, please? Like, how does
there's a bit of a plot mechanism to this, but it's not that deep at all. And I guess it does seem like anyone can become a guardian post-death if certain conditions and rituals are met.
All right. Thank you.
Because pretty much the entire world outside Thanopolis is stricken with the Blight, a phenomenon that renders land barren and uninhabitable in many ways. So, like, if you look north, it's all ice. If you look south, it's all wasteland and shit like that.
Is this just Silo?
Maybe. I haven't watched Silo yet, so maybe.
Yeah, I tried to. I had a nope out. I couldn't hang. It was bad.
Okay, so Thanopolis is entirely surrounded by a magic bubble that keeps out the Blight. So resources, including blood mages, are tightly controlled.
Okay, all right.
Sylvain was killed in front of Rovan when she was young, so now she uses her secret blood magic to create incredible woven works of art that sell well and can support her and her mother. But she also likes to have fun, like she did last night with Bethea. Rovan gets down from the 2-story gazebo, but Bethea slips off and almost fucking dies.
Okay.
Except that Rovan uses some blood magic to save her by sucking up all the water in the fountain underneath the gazebo to create a bubble to momentarily catch her and soften her fall. Everyone clearly sees what she did, and they call the cops because she's unregistered.
So this bitch got caught by the popo to save a fuck buddy. Is that what happened? Okay.
Totally, 100% yes.
Oh, another one bites the dust.
She's cornered and taken away to be tested for blood magery in front of a judge. She fails the test, and her dad walks in very much alive, so today has been really weird for Rovan.
So how did she inherit his powers if he's not dead?
She didn't get the bloodline.
Oh, I'm sorry, I misunderstood.
He was unregistered, remember? So he didn't have a bloodline.
Okay. So wait, the tattoo things are only for... Oh, okay.
You can have a bloodline placed upon you.
Got it.
Turns out Sylvain didn't all the way die. His body was taken away, and his wounds were healed with death magic, which is another kind of magic that's, you guessed it, based on being close to death. Death magic users turn corpse-like very quickly, and a lot of their magic has to do with manipulating breath and life force, including some ability to heal. People who practice death magic are mostly sequestered to the necropolis to get really into death and corpses. It's not genetic, so you can make anyone into a shadow priest, which are the practitioners of death magic.
Okay.
Especially the commoners, like Bethea, who gets dragged off screen for most of the rest of the book and put, you guessed it, into the necropolis. That's what you get for public indecency.
Wait, what was indecent about falling off a roof and almost dying? She didn't do
Well, they were
anything.
fucking up there, and everyone knew that they were fucking up there after, like, they were
like fucking in view of people on top of a gazebo?
at night, but, like, and people were like, you were definitely fucking up there because you're both hungover and, like, formerly drunk as fuck, so, you know.
Yeah, okay, all right, yeah.
Okay, so Paris, my first query for you, blood magic or death magic?
I don't know. Blood magic has, like, I don't like that blood magic has kind of this, like, noble lineage thing, and that you have to be controlled by the state.
It's a little eugenicist.
Death magic seems way more like I'm a woman of the death people. Like I can just go death magic. So I'm team death magic based on the fact that it is not classist, doesn't have weird government strictures, which I don't really understand, because why do they care so much about the blood mages and not the death mages?
They do care about the death mages. They're mostly sequestered to the necropolis, and again, you kind of turn into a walking corpse after a short period of time when you practice death magic.
That's fine.
And usually they're just like scooping up commoners and be like, we need more death magic practitioners. You all get in there.
We just keep dying. We just keep falling apart, guys. I don't know what's going on.
Honestly, yeah, that's the deal here.
That's funny.
So, I mean, it's kind of a bad deal either way. Anyway, Sylvain was revived and forced to marry Princess Penelope.
What? What?
Daughter of King Neleus, who was about to die.
Okay.
Since Sylvain was a very powerful blood mage, he is given a bloodline to pass down. So you can kind of cast a little ritual, and then he has a bloodline that you can then pass on to other people.
Okay.
which the royal family wants to put into their family so there's more powerful blood magic within the family. The royal family is pretty central to the plot, so buckle up for some genealogy here.
All right.
King Neleus had 3 kids, Tyros, Maya, and Penelope. Tyros is the firstborn. Yeah. Tyros is the firstborn and next in line to inherit the crown. He had a wife, Scylla, who was also Scylian, was kind of like brought in as she was found out to be like a Scylian spy. And they were like, cool, you have good blood magic too. We're going to punish you by forcing you to like have a bloodline, breed with Tyros, and then you pass on your bloodline to Tyros's offspring.
Great.
Okay, so Scylla, who is now dead, that was Tyros's wife, and they had 3 kids, Kineas and Lydia, who are twins, and Delphia. Scylla died passing down a bloodline to Lydia. Maya was married to a general named Tumark, and she died passing down a bloodline to Jaffa, their non-binary offspring, who is now an adult.
Mm-hmm.
Tumark was also banging Penelope on the side, and they had a daughter, Chrysia. Sylvain is married into all this, and thus Rovin is like a royal cousin by marriage. She's introduced to all these people and is informed that she will be bound to a guardian, and then when she turns 20, Sylvain will pass his bloodline down to her. So Rovin is bound to Ivralos, who is also bound to her father.
Okay, so they are now registered blood mages. They were forcibly registered, right? Okay, all right. Conscripted into this situation. Got it, okay.
Yes. As expected, Ivralos is hot. He's got long, curly, dark hair, and he died when he was 23, so he's all youthful despite being a 4-century-old ghost, and he's a good fighter with 2 cool half-moon blades.
Oh, Jesus Christ.
Okay, so my next question for you, Paris, is that you are now permanently haunted by a hot ghost. How do you proceed?
Boundaries. Set up rules and boundaries. Like, look, man, I don't care what. You don't come with me into the fucking bathroom. Bathroom is me time. No one needs to share that time with another person.
Okay, that's the main thing for you.
That's a big thing. And like, I need to be able to be alone. So you can't be like secretly haunting me. Like, if you are in my presence, you need to be visible. You can't do this like, you know, stalking without me being able to see you, because that's an invasion of privacy. I don't know, and also like no interguardian relationships, man. If you're my guardian, sorry, like you don't even have a corporeal form, first of all, so I don't know how we would even begin to solve that problem. But second of all, just, you know, if you are the thing tying me to the state and like my supervisor from a government office, like I just feel like having any kind of relations there is bad time.
Oh, don't worry, we're going to figure that out just fine, Paris.
Oh, no. Okay, that's upsetting, but expected.
Okay, so Rovin, of course, for the reasons you just described, immediately hates him, but he's hot, so she can't hate him all the way.
Course.
And she's currently horny for Lydia anyway, which is great because Lydia is horny for her too. They make out a lot and hang out with Jaffa, including a scene where everyone draws clear and distinct boundaries about who they want to have sex with.
I mean, I guess that's helpful. It's just good to be clear. I don't know.
Lydia and Rovin are cool with being open. Jaffa just kind of wants to leg wrestle with them a bit, and that's about it.
Okay. All right. It's a little weird.
Everyone's very chill about everything all the time. That is the theme of this book, is that like polyamory and like being open is just like everyone's cool with it. There's no emotional sort of tangles to untangle here. It just everyone's chill about it generally.
But is everyone chill with monogamy too?
Yes. So, I mean, like a lot of the royal family stuff tends to be like, you must breed to preserve the bloodline. And like, even though there's that sort of like weird gender role thing, a lot of people are mostly like, you can still have sex with whoever you want in the meantime.
Okay. Got it.
Everything's actually kind of okay, despite Rovin's mom explicitly being held captive somewhere as a hostage should Rovin or Sylvain decide to try and run away. That is, until King Neleus dies. And at his coronation ceremony, new King Tyros puts in some executive orders that really fuck things up.
You know, I gotta say, I know what that's like, guys.
So Delphia and Chrysaea are sent to the fucking necropolis, which surprises everyone since Tyros really liked Delphia. Jaffa is betrothed to a noblewoman, Helena. Lydia is matched up with Prince Aldan of Scylia, who was here to apparently possibly mend relations between the two city-states. And Rovin is paired with Cineas, who is a real asshole with a reputation for hurting women. Sylvain flips out a bit, and when the king whispers something to him after making reference to Rovin's mother, tries to kill King Tyros right there. Ivrilos stops him, and Sylvain is killed for real this time.
Okay.
Rovin is knocked out by Ivrilos since he can just touch her with his ghostly hand and do that, and wakes up, now covered head to toe in her bloodline. Sylvain is dead, and Rovin is trapped in the royal palace, set to marry Cineas. All right, Paris, you're in this situation. How do you proceed?
I mean, my instinct would be to try to do some research to get rid of Ivrilos, but Ivrilos is with me all the time, so how do I do that? Especially if he can just turn me off whenever he wants to.
Turn you off and on.
Oh god. I guess I would probably, at that point I would feel like my life was not great, so plans would either be kill Cineas or at least try to free my mother, so at least I'd die for something, I guess.
Okay, He's gonna make big moves here, so someone's dying minimally.
Yep.
So Rovin makes a vague plan with Lydia and Jaffa to try and escape to Scylia with Alden, since they're not really into all of this at all either. Alden generally seems on board with not actually following through with the marriage and is here as a very obvious spy.
Okay.
Rovin also finds a secret message from her dad that implies that she should look in the royal gallery, which is under guard.
Did it say sit on it? Sit on it.
Sit on it. Yeah, that'll make more sense to our listeners in a couple of weeks. Don't worry about that. So the royal gallery is under guard at all times for some reason. So she distracts some guards late at night and distracts Ivrilos by pretending she's about to show him her boobs so that he turns around, which lets her scamper into the royal gallery.
What?
Inside.
No, we're stopping. One, what does a 4-century-old ghost care about boobs? He sees boobs all the time. Why does this matter?
Well, he's a gentleman, Paris. So when you're about to show someone your boobs or act like you're about to show your boobs, they must turn around to preserve your innocence, I guess.
But he's a fucking ghost magically tied to you. Doesn't that not matter when you just zap to where you are?
He's still in the same spot. He just literally turns around.
Okay, so she gets a few seconds out of this?
Yes, this is the point that she basically pulls a Looney Tunes and just books it for the royal gallery.
Okay, that's pretty stupid. Anyway.
Inside, she finds statues of all the Guardians, along with plaques on them that identify them as being of a Thanatos bloodline. A Thanatos being the first king of Thanopolis that established it in the first place and is sort of revered in the city. At this point, the guards return and nearly catch Rovin in the gallery, so Ivrilos kills them.
What?
This requires him to suck some of Rovin's life force so that he can materialize in the physical world. And, oh no, he sucked too hard! Rovin is dying. And watches Ivrilos absorb the ghosts of the recently dead guards so that they are now extra dead. Rovin passes out. So they are basically, when you die, you go sort of into the underworld area. And then, if another shade or ghost finds you, they can suck you off and, get stronger because of it.
All right. There can be only one ghost version. Okay. There can be only one sucked ghost.
Yes. In her near-death state, and because of the fact Ivrilos is trying to kiss her back to life, Rovin sees it's like he's passing on his ghost essence to his remaining life force to her.
So he sucked and now he has to blow is the point.
Exactly.
Okay. All right. Got it.
Rovin sees a bit of Ivrilos' past, particularly the moment after he died and his dad, Athanatos, reveals himself as ruler of the underworld in death. Ivrilos' mother, who is not a queen, just some lady, and sister have also recently been killed, so they popped up in the underworld too, and turns out Athanatos can use the ghosts of the recently deceased to build up his city in the underworld. That is, he can literally transform ghosts into like building material. Like he just shoves them into a wall and like the spires and the buildings get bigger and shit. So basically he can suck off ghosts to do some interior decorating.
Oh my god, that is so stupid. Speaking of Looney Tunes, that's like literally something I could see Bugs Bunny doing to Wile E. Coyote. Just like, whoop, there you go, you're a painting now.
Okay, question for you, Paris. How are we decorating the underworld and whose souls are we using? So I feel like this is a fun concept to play around with where like you can just take the souls of anybody and turn them into basically whatever you want.
Well, let's just say there are certain pop cultural personalities and people in government who I would love to turn into things that they in life would have detested. I will leave
How about
it
you?
vague.
Yeah, I was gonna say like just turn them into public works, like make them actually useful to the underworld society.
Yeah, like you get to be a fountain or like a trough from which we feed all the people in the city who don't have food.
You're just a pipe. You're forever a pipe. For all your years as being in the underworld, you're just carrying shit. Literally carrying shit.
Maybe I just make them all into the tools they truly are. They all become wrenches and hammers. And every movement
But you don't need the wrenches and hammers, because you can just build it out of them. You can just like
But that's what makes a cruelty like Chef's Kiss. I don't even need this hammer, and I'm gonna make it anyway, so I can smash your face into a brick forever.
Okay.
Turning it up over here. But I really love like medieval architecture, so anything that's sort of fortressy, big velvet panels, stone walls, fires.
A Thanatos is kind of on your wavelength here. Everything is like obsidian looking and sort of like black and glassy and sharp. So
Actually, I'm actually not into black and maybe stained glass, but black and sharp, man. I want like warm woods and like stained glass with my stone and things like that. So
well, a little bit more exterior and interior decorating thought than a Thanatos who's just like, it's all black, it's all sharp and black and glassy.
Yeah, man, that's kind of obvious for the underworld. Like, I really think for this year, what's in is not obvious. So, just like, what about some tufted ottomans? Maybe some dark purple, right? Like, it's still a color. It's not bright, but it's a color.
Yeah,
soft.
See, tasteful, just not just black and sharp everywhere all the time.
Right. You're right. If you gotta have guests sit down on the ottomans, they can't just be a stick that they sit on. And
you're dead for a little bit. You had like a kind of a rough heart attack, and they're reviving you on the thing right there. Have a seat over here on my nice purple ottoman. It's made of Elon Musk. Very comfortable.
Tanned musk.
Okay, continuing. So Thanatos has been ruling down here for 4 centuries, but Ivrilos suspects that he rules the real world too, through the king of Thanopolis somehow. He has 2 suppositions. Firstly, that the king's chamber, which is completely cut off from everyone but the king, houses a powerful relic of some kind, and that his dead half-brother Cadrius is somehow involved.
Okay.
Also, he kissed Rovin to revive her and pass some of his essence into her, which is weird. Rovin has a deeper connection with Ivrilos because of this, which means she's weirdly more pale and can now see all the other guardians.
Okay.
She uses her deeper connection to win in a duel against Cineas when there's some sparring classes happening. Cineas almost hurts her in return, but Prince Alden shows up to defuse the situation. When everyone leaves, Alden straight up reveals that he's a spy for Skylia to Rovin, and that he plans to kill Tyros and Cineas and use his marriage to Lydia to place his child on the throne, thus giving Skylia direct control of Thanopolis.
I mean, sounds great. This place sounds like it sucks shit. I'll take my chances with Skylian people, the blue hairs.
Rovin is kind of on board if it means she doesn't have to marry Cineas right now. Alden also insinuates that he knows a bit about how to protect against death magic, in particular because he knows a sigil from Rovin's bloodline to be directly related to the same protection magic that protects Thanopolis from the Blight, which can also protect you from death magic in general, since it turns out the Blight is death magic of some kind. He tells Rovin that she could probably find out more at the necropolis. That's good, since Lydia knows the secret royal family entrance to the necropolis and can set up a secret meeting with Delphia, her sister, who was shoved in there, if you remember.
Yes.
So Rovin, Lydia, and Jaffa head out for a jaunt into the necropolis, and not only is Delphia there, but so is Bethia and Chrysia. Right. And those two are pretty upset. Ivrilos couldn't get into the secret chamber they're all meeting in because of all the death magic. Mm-hmm. Bethia tears into Rovin a bit for being part of the reason she's now a shadow priest.
Bitch, you fucked on the gazebo too. Like, get out of here.
Also, you fell off, so whose fault is it really? Rovin tells everyone about Alden's plan, and Lydia is like, wait, you want me to maybe go through with this so Alden can take over and I'm just a broodmare for him? Rovin is like, no, the one thing is, and Lydia just kind of stomps off. Bethia is like, wow, you don't care about anyone. You haven't even asked to see your mother since you got here. Rovin realizes that her mother had been killed already, and that's why Sylvain flipped out and tried to murder the king. I see. She runs away crying, and when Ivros is like, hey, baby, what's wrong? She chooses that moment to kiss him in order to let his guard down so she can suck him off. I mean, suck his essence away.
Okay. Which
powers her up in a corpsey way. Jaffa's guardian, Deimos, sees her do this and is like, well, time to die. He knocks out Jaffa to materialize in order to kill Rovin, but Rovin and Ivrilos team up to re-kill Deimos and have Ivrilos suck him off. I mean, suck his essence into him.
Stupid.
Rovin is pretty much rotting away from taking in the death magic, but she's ready to suck off kill Kinius.
Yes.
Okay, so just to be clear, she's like turning super corpsey. There's something weird going on now that she's mixing blood and death magic here.
Yeah, it sounds like two things you don't want to mix.
So Rovin stomps up through the royal palace and kills the guards outside Kinius' room, then sucks him off. I mean, just sucks his blood, actually, because she's suddenly very hungry for blood whenever she sees it. Okay. Turns out it tastes great and reverses her rotting. So now she's got to do that periodically.
Why is she a vampire? What?
Don't worry about it.
So you cross death and blood magic and you get a vampire? Is that what?
It kind of makes sense to me, honestly.
Yes.
She gets Kinius to try and take her to the king's chambers since she easily overpowers him now, but she's stopped pretty much immediately by a bunch of guards and, well, the king. She demands to speak to the king alone by dragging Kinius at knife point back into Kinius' chambers. The king obliges, and when they're alone, they have a little talk where Tyros admits to having Rovin's mother killed, so Rovin tries to throw fire magic at him.
Oh, there's now fire magic, okay.
No, I told you before, like, blood magic lets you do fire conjuration. And other stuff. But the king deflects it with his secret unregistered blood magic. Gasp! Rovin tries to good old knife in the heart trick, which hits, except Tyros doesn't bleed at all, and he just yanks the knife out. This is the big reveal where, gasp again, Tyros is an undead blood mage and isn't Tyros at all. He's been body snatched by Ivrilos' brother, Cadrius, and his guardian is none other than Athanatos. Cadrius/Tyros stabs Kinius since he knows too much, and then Rovin as well, and she fucking dies.
Oh, great. Fantastic. Love this.
Ivrilos spends a minute in the underworld being sad and sucking off Kinius so that he dies again, but then is yanked back into the land of the living where, triple gasp, Rovin is still alive, kind of, because the thing she and Ivrilos did is actually what Tyros did too, so she's undead and can come back to life unless staked through the heart by wood or bone.
So stupid.
This was kind of like the final stage of the transformation. It was like, you gotta like die again and then be brought back. Somehow, she was snuck out of the royal palace. Her corpse was, at least.
Just somehow.
Ivrilos can now touch her in real life. So, of course, they take this moment to have sex.
You know, I don't know if that's the greatest time for that, given everything else happening, but okay, sure.
Ivrilos is like, I know you still like Lydia, and I'm cool with sharing. Anyway, Jaffa bursts in, and it's kind of awkward since he can see Ivrilos when Rovin is touching him, and boy, is she! Anyway, they're in some Skylian delegation embassy or something. Alden comes in, and there's a very Maradonia scene where the blue hair anime island people open a portal to talk to their anime queen, and Rovin explains her whole situation and how they could overthrow Athanatos and do some encouraging to encourage a rebellion to stand
my
up
God.
to the evil lord of the underworld.
Oh my
So
God.
remember when you said it was very Maradonia, Ferris?
Oh
In
my
this
God.
moment, I felt the Maradonia vibes very, even like the king of the underworld being named Athanatos is like vaguely
Yeah.
Maradonia as well.
Well, all the names are super Maradonia. That's why I was like,
Right?
oh, this is
So, like,
really-
There is like a vibe here. I caught a little whiff of Maradonia, especially in this moment where they're opening portals and there's a blue-haired anime queen. Shit. If she was a mermaid, it would have been all over.
every time you like stopped reading, you'd just hear.
Vanopolis! Vanopolis!
Vanopolis.
Oh, like it's also like they're in a magic bubble and it's cut off from the rest of the world.
It's really Maradonia. Jesus Christ.
I'd never expected to see
This is
anything
like-
like that.
You know what this is? This is just Maradonia after dark. This is like what happens when
Ooh,
she
spicy Maradonia.
when Gloria finally figures out, like, I gotta write the sex to sell, and she
Yeah.
just takes it to this level. Like, it's gonna
It
happen.
can't just be weird making out with mermaids and cuddling and stuff.
Nope. Maradonia after
Okay.
dark.
Yeah, back to Thanadonia or whatever.
Thanadoniapolis. Thanadoniapolis.
You have to really extend the phrase for that to make sense. Okay. Anyway, Rovan agrees to try and kill Tyros/Cadrius, especially since Lydia is trapped in the palace now. Jaffa and Delphia organize a secret night meeting with Tumark in order to tell him what's up with the king and to try to get the royal guards on their side. Some encouraging, if you will.
Oh, right.
They meet with the help of Bethia as well, who's here, and Penelope shows up and questions Tumark about what's going on. Stuff is explained, but then Tyrostrius shows up with a bunch of blood mages and says everyone at the meeting is a traitor and should be killed.
Okay.
Jaffa is killed in the ensuing fight, and Rovan chases Tyrodrius to the king's chamber. She breaks the protective magic since it's combo blood and death magic, which she can now control both of. The king is ready for her and tries to kill her, but she does a tricksy and feints just enough so she can throw her weapon at the skull of Athanatos, the obvious relic in the room that creates a bridge to the underworld.
Oh, boy.
Athanatos is pissed and has to leave while Cadrius attempts to finish off Rovan. Lydia shows up to surprise attack him, rips his heart out, and then Rovan eats it in order to kill Cadrius in Tyros' body. Ivrilos sucks off Cadrius so he dies forever. Rovan and Lydia make out a little, and then Rovan stabs herself with a wood.
Okay.
You know,
Sorry, it seemed like a weird time for that, but okay.
Sure, but they've been reunited, and like this is the first time Lydia has seen Rovan since she was suspected to be dead, so you know it's a little emotional.
Yeah.
Then Rovan stabs herself with a wood and bone stake, so she dies just enough to go to the underworld. They walk right into Athanatos' undead city, and since his tether to the mortal world is broken from Tyrostrius' death, he's weakened and cannot break through Rovan's shield because she has the sigil that protects against death magic that her father gave her in her bloodline, and he can't escape either. Rovan just has to sit on his throne, which, because she possesses the bloodline, undoes all his magic, which, by the way, was also the source of the blight.
What?
Yeah, I don't know, man.
Okay.
She sits on the throne, and basically all of the death magic that made all the people into the city starts unraveling. So the city made of dead people turns back into dead people who consume Athanatos. In the Ravenous Dark.
Maybe don't put your reset button on a place where people sit. Like, that just seems like a bad...
Well, Athanatos thought he was the only one that's going to be putting his... He's the only one that was going to sit on it, really.
Okay.
In the mortal realm, Lydia rips the stake out of Rovan's heart so she comes back to life. Rovan, Ivrilos, and Lydia, who is now guardianed by Jaffa from beyond, all fuck off to Skylia. The end.
Oh, man, that sounds really bad. Yeah, I don't like Maradonia after dark. I don't like Maradonia in the day. I don't like it in the dark. I don't like it
Maradonia
with
at dusk?
polyamory. I don't like it with polyamory. I don't like it with vampires. I don't. Just any kind of Maradonia, I'm allergic. I can't do it.
Okay, so into the
Anything
rubric
that
here.
grows off the Maradonia tree, I am allergic to. I can't do it.
Violently. It's anaphylactic, honestly.
Yeah, seriously. I'm short of breath right now. I don't know.
If anyone's doing any sort of encouraging, I'm out. I'm done.
Yeah, I can't
If
be
there's
encouraged.
a portal to another realm, I'm probably going to step outside. Okay, into the rubric here, Paris. Technical construction. So, unlike Maradonia, everything here is just fine. You know, no typos that I saw. Punctuation is normal.
Okay.
Formatting is acceptable. There's just numbered chapters. Maybe there's like a little break of time in some chapters. It's just like, you know, the little designed line set off that says, hey, time has passed. It's all fine. I have nothing to say here. This is a 1. Okay. Plot construction and content layout. So as far as general coherence here, I mean, it's fine in some ways in terms of the general plot, right? Like there's some royal family, palace intrigue stuff happening. It really does try to get you to buy into like the blood magic and death magic and how they interact. There's a lot of expositing about things like that. This falls a little bit more under rules following, but I find where most of the coherence gets a little wobbly is the fact that like it is one of these things where there's a spell to fix the thing at the given moment, right?
Yeah.
And like we don't have a lot of boundaries drawn. There are some. So obviously like blood mages that are unregistered are very scary things. So that is why they must be registered by the state and thus be given a guardian to put them under control. So like that is sort of the boundary of blood magic, is that if you are going to go nuts and like just start blowing shit up or murdering people, your guardian will just turn you off or what have you. So that is sort of the limitation on blood magic, and also your ability to like inscribe sigils and what sigils you know and how controlled you are in creating your sigils is sort of like your blood magic ability, but that's not really given too much depth. So when it comes to rules following, I find that's where things just feel murky here, because just like any other vaguely defined magic system, I'm left to assume that there's going to be a spell that gets you out of a jam in any given situation.
Yeah.
Especially when Rovan starts getting a little corpsey and death magic-y. Of course, there's going to be some mechanism to make her not be a corpse. And in this case, it's just drinking blood, which isn't really much of an issue because this happens like towards like the last 100 pages of the book. And she really only needs to suck blood like twice. And she's sustained long enough to make it to the, and they all sail off into the Skylian sunset ending. Kind of thing. And like most of the plot is indeed about Rovan wants to get the fuck out of the palace. Maybe there's a little give and take between her and Ivrilos. At first, Ivrilos is like ready to, he literally defends King Tyros from being assassinated. This is the reason why is explained in a section that I might do a little bit of reading from later. In that, like, he is trying to get as close to the king's chambers as he can because of his suspicions about what is in there. And his whole plan is like, listen, I've been chilling for 400 years. I'm getting closer and closer and closer into being the guardian of someone that would enter the royal chambers anyway. So if I can get that to happen, I will be let in there and I can see what the fuck is up with there and if my brother is around.
Okay.
But he also is kind of into Rovan. That's why he doesn't like immediately like kill her or shut her off when she does the whole royal gallery thing, and why he starts siding with her, essentially. Yep. It is mostly because he's a little horny for her. So that's, you know, he's ready to throw away his 4th century old plot because his ward is kind of hot.
Yeah, like, I mean, my question is like, how does he not have a ghost partner after 400 years?
It's just him. He's just hanging out by himself. And I mean, like, he's under control of the royal family in some way. For him, it's just like, you know, if he fights against the royal family, then like a bunch of other shades from the underworld will kill him. So, you know, he has to watch out for the other guardians. As far as character quality, I mean, no one here is that deep. And like the nuance is sort of like left on the cutting room floor, especially with all the polyamory about here. Like everyone being super chill and cool with it all the time. Sure, it's like your YA fantasy, But I think it's doing a disservice to polyamorous relationships to not talk about all of the tangled emotions that come with that. And sure, maybe there are a bunch of people out there that are totally chill with it and it's not complicated for them. But I think in the majority of cases, you're going to have some give and take between different partners, especially if one partner is a living person and another one is a fucking ghost that is designed to like watch over you and kind of be nanny state towards you.
Well, I just also think that people are more complicated than that. And I know
Agreed.
This is, like you said, this is a fantasy world, but to have it where it's like, well, nope, this is just how everyone is. And I don't know, I guess it would be different if there was some cultural backstory as to why everyone was so cool with it, and it wasn't.
It sort of runs afoul of the very much like women are here to be broodmares for bloodlines and die when they pass along their, like, that's very much what most women
Right.
in the royal family are for here.
Oh, boy.
So there's like an extremely heteronormative thing there where like there is a gender role thing happening, but like that's just kind of like not a problem with most people. They're like, okay, we have this structure to preserve bloodlines, but you can honestly fuck whoever you want in the end. Which I'm not saying that's impossible. It's not like it's impossible that a culture would give rise to those two separate structures or thoughts. But
yeah, sure.
I think you could have explored the tangled nature of multi-partner relationships a little bit more.
Like you said, especially when you've got one that's like corporeal and one that isn't.
Yeah, and one that
like
is, an asset of the state and kind of like your supervisor at the same time.
Yeah.
And the other one you're trying to run away with. So, yeah.
Yeah.
And they're like, I mean, in the end, like Lydia's also like, I'm cool with sharing with Ivrilos too. Like they're all like, it's all fine and good.
Yep. No dealing with any of that. It's just fine and good.
Sure. So like, it's nice that we have non-binary characters and people aren't just straight all the time and that's just generally accepted. We kind of want to see that in some things, but I think it's leaning a little bit too far into and now everything's cool because of that, instead of just taking into account how human beings are illogical and emotional and can get kind of tangled up when stuff like this happens.
Yeah, and how people can have different views. I mean, even though we're, for example, in a society that's, in the Western, white, Northern Hemisphere world that's like mostly monogamous, there's plenty of people who are not and live a different lifestyle. So it's like, in this world, why are there no characters that are monogamous or like have a different take on things? It's a little weird.
I mean, there are some that are supposedly monogamous, but we actually don't really ever see a totally monogamous relationship. Except I guess maybe Rovin's dad and mom, they're pretty monogamous.
Okay.
Except when they're separated and Sylvian is forced to marry the princess. By the way, there's a part where the mom is also like, Sylvian, what the fuck? I thought you were dead. And he's like, I was married into the royal family. Sorry, baby.
That's pretty funny.
Yeah. And then like Rovin's mom is literally dragged out of the book, never to be seen again after that scene. So
You know what this all feels like? So not only is it Maradonia After Dark, but imagine if Maradonia After Dark was also General Hospital. Like, it just feels like a daytime soap, but after dark Maradonia. Like, I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, not inaccurate at all. All right, so for plot construction, it's definitely not a negative one. I kind of actually want to mostly lean towards one because, like, vague magic system is sort of par for the course on stuff like this. And, like, we've read much worse YA, and I think even though the magic system is a little vague, it's trying to draw some boundaries, so I want to give this thing some credit. I want to give this a 1.
And you don't want to give it a 0?
I think I've just seen much worse here. And I will also say this is a standalone. It's not a series. It's explicitly just like, this is it. This is the one thing. So like, it's a nice self-contained thing. The pacing is pretty good. Like, I was never really like, oh my God, can we please not harp on this one thing too long? So I just really want to give an author some credit for like, I wrote this one story. That's it. And it's just nice and self-contained. And that's all I have to say. So give him some credit there. I
gotta say, I thought for sure, I was like, oh, this is gonna be a series. how could it
Nope.
not be, you know?
I mean, maybe it turns into a series later, but as of now, it's explicitly, hey, that's it. Okay. Moving into moment to moment. So this is where I will do some readings for you, Paris. I've selected
Great.
3 sections. They're sort of longish, but I thought that these would give you a general vibe of like how things are written here. For me, the prose is decent, although it's one of those things where like it's YA with a sort of like fantasy world theme. So people talk as if they are sort of modern day. What the, you know, people say fuck and shit all the time in the way that we would hear. There's not really a lot of like slang or words that are of this world, although we don't hear any like slang from our world either, I would say. So it's like one of those.
Well, that's fine.
You know how that is like in Fourth. You didn't read Fourth Wing actually, but like I think you know what I mean.
Yeah, I do. Yeah.
Okay. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to immediately step on the credit that I gave to the author in the last scene, and I'm going to read a bit of Ivrilos sort of trying to explain his new interaction with Rovan and how their blood and death magic interact after he does his kiss thing to her. Okay, so this is the beginning of chapter 19. I can't get warm. As soon as I close myself in my apartments, happily able to see myself again, I start shivering violently. My skin feels like a corpse's, nearly white underneath the crimson lines of my sigils. I drag a dark green blanket around my shoulders, woven with golden leaves that actually drift down the length of it to pile at the bottom edge. I use the sigil to ignite a fire in my massive stone hearth carved like a lion's roaring mouth. The thing is hideous, and for a moment I consider asking Ivrilos to change the shape of it. He can do that after all with death magic, but my knees practically give out before I can. I sit down on the floor right in front of the fireplace, not even bothering with a chair. Are you sure I'm not dead? I ask. Ivrilos crouches next to me, dark eyes looking softer, warmer in the flickering light, though his expression is as marble smooth as ever. I can't imagine your teeth would be chattering if you were. Okay, I say, gathering the blanket tighter. Here's your chance to explain what the hell just happened, what you did to me, why I'm not dead. For a moment, he just stares into the fire, the orange glow playing over his ridiculous cheekbones. I have to explain a few other things first. Perfect, I say, rocking back and forth trying to get warm, because as I recall, you promised to tell me everything. He grimaces. I did, didn't I? Sighing, he drops all the way into a kneeling position next to me. We're an incongruous sight, a disheveled young woman and a man who looks like the embodiment of death huddled in front of the fire. But I've seen strange things this evening. Think of your body like a small raft, he begins. A leaky raft. It wants to sink, and sinking is death. He cups one hand, palm up, and gestures beneath it with the other. The current is the force that spins the living world. It's exhausting, and it will eventually, inevitably drag you down. Your pneuma, your spiritual essence, otherwise known as your shade after you die, rides within the raft of your body, and your living spark, your vitality, whatever you want to call it, is the bucket with which you madly bail to keep from sinking. Some people have bigger buckets, some smaller. Some, he shoots a barely there smile my way, and it makes my heart kick, can take their bucket, make it to whatever shape they want, and play with the forces of the living world. Blood mages, like you. His lips take a downward turn. Why am I looking at his lips so much? I don't belong here in the living world, frankly, as a shade. A being of pure pneuma with no body or vitality of my own with which to keep me afloat. Bound to you like I am, I'm using you. Especially when I make myself more present here. It's as if I'm hanging off the side of your raft, dragging against the current. In actuality, I'm drawing on your living pneuma, making you weaker as you bail. If I were to draw on you too much, I would swamp you immediately, kill you, like I almost did back in the gallery. To do what I did to those guards, I needed a lot of you. Too much. But even as an extra passenger taking care not to wear out my welcome, I'll still wear you out all the sooner. Finally, the truth, I declare, with a great exasperated breath. Not that I hadn't guessed already, but that's why blood mages age quicker here in Thanopolis. It's not the weight of our bloodlines, which, as you said, actually make us stronger. My lip curls. You're like leeches who've found the fattest vein. My father knew this. He did, Ivrilos says shortly. But you didn't swamp me back there, I continue, eyeing him sideways. You did something strange. You kept me from sinking. You kissed me, I don't add. Ivrilos' eyes close and his jaw clenches as if he regrets what he did. Yes, I did. I gave you my pneuma in return. But you're dead, I goggle at him for a moment. You mean I have essence of dead man in me? He nods solemnly. I bark a short, humorless laugh. I guess it explains why I'm cold and why the darkness looks less dark. I shudder. A dead man's breath in my lungs. Blech, yuck. For some reason, the thought of a dead man's lips on mine doesn't make me squeamish, but I don't tell him that. Are you quite finished? Ivrilos asks, but the words don't have bite. I didn't actually know all the ways it would affect you because I've never done it before. It's entirely forbidden, the strictest law we have. I suppose now instead of weighing you down, it's more like I'm holding you up, feeding you as you bail. As he says it, his eyes dart away from me. I wonder if, were he alive, there would be more than just firelight coloring his pale cheeks. So it's usually you feeding on me, but now it's the opposite? Yes, we became a closed loop, at least temporarily, which is why you could touch me for a brief moment. We were at the same essence. We were of the same essence. Mine was almost entirely filling you, since yours had nearly moved on. But your pneuma came back to your body once I revived you by giving you a breath for one drowning. This weakened me, of course, but I had the strength to spare. How? He gives me a look I can only describe as mildly chagrined. As you pointed out, I'm old. A shade can fade. They're sometimes called fades, in fact, those who are evanescing. Or if one doesn't fade, one can grow, strengthen, deepen their capacity to take in pneuma. Just like your capacity for wine is gained by drinking, we can draw more and more on the essence of the living over time, though only from those we are bound to. Live pneuma is more powerful than our own, and far more invigorating with blood to animate it. Which is why guardians, especially older ones like me, are much stronger than normal shades linked to the living as we are for as long as we've been. But still, you nearly killed me to take care of those guards, and yet somehow you were able to revive me and then death magic everything. I draw my hand out of the blanket to make a sweeping motion. Without finishing me off, his voice grows quieter. We can also draw on the essence of other shades in the afterlife without needing to be bound to them. But if they're already dead and they don't have a way to replenish themselves, then that means you kill them? Again? Ivrilos meets my eyes. I told you there's a second, more permanent death. You're avoiding my question. Yes, Rovan, he enunciates, holding my gaze. I killed the shades of those guards in the underworld. I consumed them, giving them their second death far quicker than they would have found it by fading. I couldn't allow them to linger and tell any tales. Their pneuma also gave me the strength to death magic everything, as you call it, and to keep you from dying. Why? He looks away again. I need you. So that's a big old expository passage and generally how we find things out. It's very much spelled out, so like they don't get too wishy-washy when they have the opportunity to kind of do things here. Very explanatory style there, I would say. Okay, I'm actually gonna.
I gotta say, I did not enjoy that at all.
Why not?
It's very not for me.
You don't like a little magic system explanation?
No, well, I do when I feel like it works. It just didn't. I don't know. For me, it doesn't work. Give me my Warrens, goddammit.
Like that makes more sense?
I don't know. For my fucked up brain, I guess it does.
Okay, I'm actually gonna reverse a bit and read the passage of when Rovan is trying to sneak into the royal gallery. And it's a bit of a way of sort of like showing you some dialogue and some like non-expository sort of writing here. This is the start of chapter 17.
Okay.
After leaving Lydia's quarters later that night, much later, the palace long asleep, I take a different path than usual back to my rooms, weaving drunkenly down torchlit empty marble corridors. At least, I want my guardian to think I'm drunk. I quietly sing a bawdy ditty to help with that, and perhaps to scare him away. Two birds with one off-key stone. And then I slip into seemingly contented silence and find what I'm looking for. Halfway down a long hallway of swirling blue and purple mosaics of grapes, illuminated only with scattered pools of flickering light, a pair of bleary-looking guards stand before an impressive heavy set of double doors, exactly where Jaffa said they'd be during our conversation on Lydia's couch. Beyond the guarded doorway, the hallway turns a corner that's covered in enough vines and flowers to be the entrance to a forest glen. Wherever it goes, maybe to some private garden reserved only for the king, I don't need to know. I duck out of sight behind a column, pretending to stifle giggles. They can't see me, I whisper, seemingly to the air around me. They'll know I'm drunk. I think that's already obvious, my guardian says, appearing next to me, having finally lost patience with whatever silliness he imagines I'm up to. Your rooms are this way, he points in the opposite direction. Ivrilos. His name is like magic. Saying it gets his full attention. I keep a grin on my face, and he looks charmed in return. I hope it'll last. I'm going to have a little fun, and nobody's going to get hurt. Trust me, please? His marble smooth forehead immediately creases. What? I follow the paths of sigils in my mind, my fingers moving, and the vines at the end of the hall come alive like writhing tentacles. The guards at the double doors exclaim in surprise, but their cries are quickly gagged. I can't see them, but I don't need to. Armor and swords barely clatter, muffled, as both guards are yanked off their feet and dragged as quietly as possible down the hallway, out of sight around the corner by suddenly monstrous plant life. I probably could have knocked them out by restricting the blood to their brain or something, but I don't trust myself enough to not accidentally kill them. They just need to be occupied. Rovan, Ivrilos says, alarmed. What are you doing? Stop this now. He's clearly not going to trust me long enough for me to get where I need to go. I'm amazed he's let me make it this far, frankly. I grope frantically for something to use against him. It's still too early to try the special set of sigils my father left me in his office. But then I have it. Ivrilos' awkwardness, his prudish sense of propriety. I let my eyes grow heavy-lidded, my lips parting, and I make my voice as sultry as possible. This feeling was too powerful to resist. I just had to be alone with you. The words come up like cheap, too sweet wine, but they seem to have the desired effect. Ivrilos' eyes widen in alarm. Why would you need to be? He trails off as my hands drift up past my collarbones. My strophian is already loose around my waist from when Lydia unwound it. So all I have to do is unfasten the gold pins at my shoulders, and the whole top of my gown will fall away, just as it did for the princess. My fingers brush the clasps. Ivrilos not only averts his eyes, he spins violently away as if the sight of me might catch him on fire. Before he has any clue what I'm doing, I'm off, sprinting down the hall toward the double doors. I keep expecting to feel the cool touch of his hand, to grow dizzy, to fall before I make it. But I only hear Ivrilos' breathless and rather foul curse behind me, followed by his frantic muttering, and then my feet reach the low marble steps in front of the now unguarded doors. I throw every sigil for opening at them that I know, and they fly open. In seconds, I'm inside and the doors are closed behind me, seemingly undisturbed. I release the vines down the hall, and with them the guards. With any luck, they'll have no idea I've dashed in here and will spend their time trying to find the trickster outside. Everything is suddenly quiet, aside from my rapid breathing. I've done it. I'm in the Royal Gallery. So, a little fun tete-a-tete between Rovan and Ivrilos there, and a little bit more action-oriented. So, it's fine. It's functional. It's not amazing, but it's, doing the job, right?
Yeah.
There's a little bit of fun description there, like the off-key stone or whatever, but, it's not that fancy. So overall, for me, the prose is doing, like I said, it's doing the job. It is fine, but it's not riveting or artful either. It is here to give you a YA romance story. Okay, I'm going to read one more part here. This is to highlight some dialogue, and honestly, I just thought this part was kind of funny. I think it's supposed to be funny, maybe?
Let's hope so.
Okay, so this is when Jaffa, Lydia, and Rovan are going to the necropolis to try to meet up with Delphia to find out some more stuff about death magic.
Can I just tell you, because his character's name is Jaffa, I just keep thinking Jaffa cake.
Yeah, it's spelled J-A-P-H-A if it matters to you.
My little Jaffa cake. All right.
Okay. We wander on down the dim passageway until abruptly it's no longer narrow. It spits us out under a deep columned aisle, which in turn opens into a cavernous central chamber. Columns and arches disappear into the shadows overhead. A statue of only one aspect of the tripartite goddess, the crone, stands stooped at the far end, a staff in one hand and a raised lantern in the other. Eerie blue fire burns there, throwing a sickly glow around the room. In the light, Jaffa's lips look blue, suffocated, drowned, and Lydia's skin as pale as a corpse's, her mouth bloodied. I pull my cowl tighter around me, as if I can keep the light from touching me. "Hello, benighted ones," the hissing voice from the shadows next to us nearly makes me leap out of my death shroud. A person shambles forward in an outfit matching ours, except where a cowl would cover their head, twisting bands of rope-like iron bind them. The mask leaves only their mouth exposed, lips darkened to an unhealthy black at the corners, teeth jagged and rotten. As far as I can tell, even covers their eyes. As much as I hate the sight of it, it's almost unfortunate it doesn't hide everything. "Benighted?" Jaffa says with ill-disguised distaste. "Shadowed by death, bound to darkness. A skeletal hand flickers out from a sleeve, not taut with age, but something worse, and reaches for Jaffa's face. Jaffa takes a hasty step back. How I envy you. No matter how close to death I come, even touching the shadows. They say another word after that, an old word, like what I heard Ivrilos speak, and something like black smoke coils around their thin fingers. I will never be as close as you. The iron-strapped head tips nearer to all of us, and I can hear a raspy inhale. I can smell it on you. Whatever death smells like to the Shadow Priest, I hope it's not as bad as the stench they're giving off. Glorified cult of death worshippers, Jaffa once called Thanopolis, and that's never felt more apt. I want to recoil like Jaffa, maybe run, but Lydia only smiles calmly. She might be the bravest person I know. Yes, lucky us, she says without a hint of the sarcasm I know she feels. Excuse me, Shadow Priest, but we wish to try to commune with our royal family. Pay them our respects. There is a place where other shades cannot accidentally interfere with our summons. Yes, there is a place for that. The Shadow Priest cocks their horrible, half-faceless head. But your connection with your guardians may become disrupted. You see, the room has deep, dark magic in its stones. Its
The
bones.
Wi-Fi isn't good in there.
By blocking out the many voices of the dead, it serves as a channel to those you call. We can only let one channel at a time. It's got, 1, 6, or 11. That's it.
Yeah, that's it.
The priest hesitates, and just know that not all shades come when summoned. Probably because most of them can't come, I think, because they've been used as mortar in the underworld, or worse. Of course.
We're working with a dial-up connection to the underworld here. The quality...
You really want a wired underworld connection where you can get...
You really do. Really want wired fiber optics for the best performance.
Of course, Lydia says placidly, but it is our devotion to the dead and the crone that shepherds them that makes us try. The priest hisses something that might be satisfaction. The crone smiles upon you, as does her king. They gesture behind them, trailing a ghostly sleeve from their bony arm. I squint until my eyes adjust. There, at the end of the massive central chamber, behind the statue of the goddess, I finally see it. A darker, taller statue, deeper set against the far wall. It must be the first king, a Thanatos, looming in the shadows behind the goddess. I shiver. The priest's head snaps in my direction. Do you find death uncomfortable? You, whom darkness has kissed the most? My face blossoms with heat. Now I appreciate the sickly lighting making me look pale, because it's not just the Shadow Priest who's staring at me through the impossible iron bands of their mask. At least Lydia and Jaffa only appear confused. No, Death and I are pretty well acquainted, I stammer. My apologies, I'm just cold. The opposite of cold, more like my armpits prickle with sudden sweat. The priest licks their lips with a blackened tongue, and I can barely suppress another shudder. You should welcome the cold, because cold is the embrace of darkness, death, whatever. We get it, Jaffa says, looping their arms through Lydia's in mind. If you'll excuse us...
The me of the group.
If you'll excuse us, we have respects to pay and places to be. Where's the room we want? There is only one place we will all be in the end, but go in peace, the priest says with a terrifying smile. Behind you, third door on the right, and at the end of the hall.
Okay, that's a very good Death Priest voice, Chris. 10 points to you, 10 points.
So that's
fantastic.
That's the little interaction that they have with the Shadow Priest. So, again, the dialogue is fine, maybe a little fun. That's actually probably the funniest dialogue in the whole thing. That's kind of why I want to highlight it. It doesn't really get much more laugh a minute than that. Not that it is.
The more you read, I'm just like, Maradonia Hospital After Dark. Those themes have just become more and more solidified as you've continued.
Okay. If we're bringing up the Maradonia comparisons, I would like to move into Terriblo's presence, so I'm going to score a moment to moment here. For me, it's not great, it's not bad, clear 0.
Yep, okay, fair enough.
Okay. Now into Terriblo's presence. So it's the whiffs of Maradonia, really, like that same sort of... it's like the anime-haired people... The King Athanatos of the underworld, who's just pure evil all the time.
All the names are extremely Maradonia.
Yeah, of course, this is far and away much better than Maradonia. It is only
There's
some. There are some bones in here that are taken from. There's a tibia or something that is from Maradonia's skeleton, I think. But other than that, there's not much of Terriblo in here. To be it's not that chaotic, except for that whiff of Maradonia that I've been talking about. I wasn't very confusing, so I wasn't going that often, and I didn't really have to come to you for any help, Paris. So I'm going to give this Just a 1. Like, there's the wink there, but it's not enough to really demote it there.
Okay, all right, that's fine.
Moving into should this exist?
Yeah.
Would readers of this genre enjoy this? I think probably. Actually, like if you want some YA romantasy stuff, it's better than Fourth Wing, I gotta say. I would rather you read this than Fourth Wing. It's still suffused in like...
What made it better than Fourth Wing? Because to me, these are like kind of indistinguishable at this distance. I don't know if I just need to put my better glasses on, but you read them both, so...
Rovan is less annoying than Violet, is mostly what it comes down to.
I think I remember
She's
that.
She's still petulant, but not in the off-putting way that Violet was in Fourth Wing. And even though Rovan is horny for a ghost almost all the time, and just generally horny, she's less suffused in it and constantly thinking about it than Violet was in Fourth Wing. She's like somehow more mature about it.
Yeah, it's just sort of a known fact. It's not her every waking thought.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, like, I think if you're gonna do this, I haven't read much better than this in the romantasy angle yet, shall we say.
Okay, all right. High praise.
Also, I like that it's self-contained. It's not a huge series. We don't have to have weird cliffhangers. It's just nicely paced because of that.
I was gonna say, I do really appreciate that most of all, because I feel like all romantasy is always a fucking series. They gotta do 3 books. They gotta do 6 books. They gotta do it forever because it's their career now and they can't stop or the checks will stop.
Yeah, and I'm sure A.M. Strickland is writing other stuff and that's fine. And I really appreciate them being able to be like, okay, I just do this one story and that's enough for this world.
I gotta say, even though I didn't read it, that strikes me as a huge point in its favor. Self-contained, 1 book.
Also, the relationships are generally positive and sort of wholesome.
Yeah.
And on the other, this should go into the character thing. Like, evil people are just flat out evil, period, end of story. So that's a little bit shitty. Yeah. But like, there are the chill people and then there are evil people. At least the chill people say their feelings out loud and like have a little chat about it. So I can appreciate that. So I think this does it overall a little bit better. Do I feel as if the author's goal was met? Actually, yes. Self-contained story with a little romance where we have some polyamory fantasy. Yeah, cool. I think you did a good job. Okay. Does it add anything new, interesting, or novel? I mean, if you just really want vaguely ancient Greece-themed romantasy, that's all it's throwing in here, which isn't really that compelling, especially since it doesn't go too deep into it. Aside from clothing mentions and some architecture stuff. So like, I guess it's the set dressing, sort of. I'm not going to call the blood and death magic system that interesting. Yeah. So whatever. Did it take something from me? No, although like the Maradonia stench is... it's just like weird that I have this comparison that I have to make here to this because no one else would ever make that comparison, I think, except me. No one has read both In the Ravenous Dark and the entire Maradonia series.
Yeah, right. Like, who the fuck?
I am a unique person and special.
Singular person in this world.
So I don't think it really took much from us. What should you read instead of this? I mean, like I said, I can't, like, if you want to do the romantasy thing, I struggle to recommend anything better than this at this point. If you want fantasy with like a romance angle to it, that's better than this. I don't know. Most of the fantasy series I like don't strive too hard to have the romantic angle in there too deeply. So it's hard for me to like say, try this out instead when I'm not paying attention at all to like the love stories in fantasy.
Right.
You know what? Legends and lattes. Do that instead.
Oh my God. Call back. Call back.
It's a little bit more wholesome. It's a little bit more like nuanced in the relationship. So there's something to explore in the romantic entanglement,
but
even though it's
still queer and you know.
So this is fine.
People are pretty chill, you know.
So should this exist? I'm going to say a 1 because it's the better example of like YA romantasy that I've seen yet. I don't know. Maybe all that Sarah J. Maas stuff really hits hard as fuck or something. So it could be.
I don't know, man. I don't know. I guess we're going to have to find out eventually.
Okay. So scoring this. Technical construction, 1. Plot construction, 1. Moment to moment, 0. Terrible's presence, 1. Should this exist, 1. It's a 4 out of 5, Paris.
Chris, this is not a 4 out of 5 book. I didn't read it, but I'm telling you, without me, your grading is too lenient.
I'm being nice.
Chris,
I think a 3 might be more, but like honestly, this is above average for what we usually read here. So even I would say a 4 out of 5 on our scale is equivalent to like a 6 out of 10 in the real world.
I feel like a 4 is just too high, dude. I don't know how you gave the plot a 1. Based on your description of it.
Because it's a functional YA. Like, I'm not judging it amidst the great works of literature. I'm judging it amidst...
But why isn't it a 0 then? And then it would be a 3 out of 5, which to me seems more appropriate.
You know what?
To
You fucking convinced me because, like, I agree this shouldn't be a 4 out of 5. So it's 0 on plot construction. I take it back. Right. Executive order rescinded immediately because of my incompetence up here. So we're taking it back to 3 out of 5. Sorry. A.M. Strickland.
Court of terrible book, Oyer and Terminer.
All right.
Decision.
Can we fix it? I think if you just added more nuance to the polyamory relationships and explored a little bit of conflict there, just some.
And make the evil people not just like strictly evil. I think that's the other thing you were saying. Yeah.
Those would be the two big things. And maybe if you're doing the ancient Greek culture thing, dive in a little deeper than clothes and architecture. Just a little bit. It doesn't have to be literally ancient Greece, but just give me some stuff.
Yeah, it does seem a little odd.
It's extremely surface level.
I'm just going to take the pillars and the outfits, and the names, sort of, I guess.
Yes.
Yeah.
So... yeah, not a lot of work, a good amount of work because it's like dive into the depth and the nuance, and that's the meat of hard work. But the bones are great, I think. Like, you could totally just tear this down a little bit, remodel in here,
shove some souls into the brick,
exactly.
Just
choose
really
a slightly more complex soul. You got simple flavors happening over here.
Just bolster it with some more ghosts.
Yeah.
Your little ghost in the drywall fix you right up. My cousin Vinny can do it.
He's a real ghostmancer, that guy. He's got the best ghosts to put up in here.
He's a ghost
the finest
bouncer.
Ghost materials. This ghost over here, let me tell you, such a nice guy. Took care of orphan puppies his whole life. He'll hold up your whole house structure. All right, Paris. That's all I have for In the Ravenous Dark by A.M. Strickland.
Not for me at all. But as you said, wasn't as annoying.
Yes. I would not pick this up on my own either, but in comparison to Fourth Wing, if you said there was a second book in this series and that we had to read it for TBC, I wouldn't cringe as hard as having to read the second Fourth Wing book, which I have a feeling is going to happen at some point. Hopefully never.
Oh, no. God, no. Let's not do that.
All right. Well, thank you, Paris, for listening to me ramble on about this, and thank you, patrons and Ko-fi donors. Shout out to our lurkers on Patreon who aren't currently donating, but who still grace us with their watchful gaze, like 50, Anna, Anya, Arant, BB89, Carol, Caroline, Eldridge, Nemo, George, Gray, Jan, Katie, Kristen, Last Man on Earth 01, Robin, Samantha, Throttle 19, and Zoe. Our bad bookworms like Ben, Donnie, Emily, Jakob, Jared, Scott, and Will. Our exacting editors like Elliot, Xander, Kieran, David, D, Emmy, Funny Robot with Antennas, Greg, Harry, 7, Martin, Root Beer Cutie, and the Ugly One. Our loathsome librarians like Veronica, Beast with the Least, Yanka, Luchek, Patricia, Julius, and Of the Void, the taco-eating unicorn of the Hot Springs. Our pesky publishers like Miles, Austin, Patrick, and Fred. Special thanks to Austin for recommending this one. It wasn't as painful, so thank you for that. And it also wasn't total smut. It basically glossed over most of the sex, so thank you for restraining yourself, Austin. I'm sorry I called you a pervert. That's not true at all. You're a very reasonable human being that probably likes hentai. That can be true. This can be true of people.
I was going to say, you could be both.
Yes. And, of course, thank you to our Ko-fi donors like Mark, Tracy, our ever-faithful Kiwi Thing, Excavating Lizard, along with Martin F. Brenna and Matthew, who relieved us of terrible books. If you want some terrible books we've read for the show, you can buy them over on our Ko-fi page. All right, Paris, I'm off to get sucked off by a ghost so that I'm dead forever.
Oh, sounds good. Yeah, I guess I'll be wary of combining blood and death magic.
Don't do it. Stay away.
Don't do it. Don't
All
do
right.
it.
Bye, everybody.
Goodbye. Thank you for listening to another episode of Terrible Book Club. Terrible Book Club is an independent podcast produced by your hosts, Paris and Chris. Sound design and audio editing by Chris, with sound effects and music by Epidemic Sound and sometimes also Chris. Our theme song is Kiss by Yearn, which is, you guessed it, actually also Chris. You can find more of his soothing synthy sounds on Bandcamp at yearn.bandcamp.com. Do you want us to review a book of your choice on the show? Do you want access to some extra audiovisual weirdness? If so, become a patron at patreon.com/terriblebookclub. If you'd like to send us a one-time tip instead, you can do that at ko-fi.com/terriblebookclub. You can also support TBC for free by sharing the show on social media, following our accounts on YouTube, Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, or Goodreads, telling your friends about your favorite episode, or by leaving a review on Apple Podcasts, Podchaser, or anywhere else on the internet. To send us book recommendations or your adorable pet photos, send an email to terriblebookclub@gmail.com.